is up, and welcome to another episode of the Biscayne Breakdown, brought to you by the Heat vs. the World Network. There's been a lot of problems this week. We've had some bad news with Donovan Mitchell. The fan base is split, but we've got a lot to talk about today, especially what's happening with the 2 spot and who is the most optimal player for that position moving forward for the season.
Before we get started with that, I want to give a shout out to JJ No Limit on winning the Jimmy Butler jersey giveaway that we just shipped out yesterday. So by the time this video out, he should already have the jersey. So shout out to you, and I hope you enjoy the jersey. And let's get started, George.
Fair enough. Well, we struck out on Donovan Mitchell, and according to reports, we didn't even put in an offer to the Jazz. So a lot of disappointment. A lot of people saying this was a good thing. A lot more people, in my opinion, saying it's a bad thing. The fact that we're not even looking to improve externally and we're keeping it all internal. But in my opinion, the ceiling hasn't really been hit for this team. But do we want to gamble any more years of Jimmy Butler's career away? And his prime is dwindling. He'll be 33 in 12 days. So, who's going to step up and be that scorer that he needs? Who's going to provide that offensive consistency? What do you think?
I don't even think it's necessarily about just offensively consistency, even though that was what we was missing majority in the playoffs. We was missing that go-to scorer. I just think it's all about the all-around game. Like Pat said in the exit press conference, he put emphasis on this is you need two-way players in this league to win a championship. And that's why I believe that Victor Oladipo is going to start during the season, because he's that two-way player. We forgot that, out of the rest of the 2 guards we have on this roster, out of Tyler and Strutz and Duncan, he is the only one who was an all-star. He is the only one who he was the best player on a playoff team. Like, we forget when he was in Indiana, he took LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers to 7 games and averaged 22 points and shot 40% from 3. So, and he was an all-NBA defender. So, I mean, he should be the starter at the 2. And I think he just need to work on his catch and shoot, and he'll fit perfect in with this offense, with this team. He's a great defender, and he can go get a bucket. He's maybe not the scorer that we was looking for, that the scoring that Donovan Mitchell can provide, but he's a good player. He was the all-star, unlike Tyler Herro, unlike Duncan, unlike Max.
Look, I agree. But the sad thing is we can't even combine what Tyler Herro is good at and what Oladipo is good at. Because if Oladipo had that Tyler Herro shot and consistency offensively, he'd be the perfect player for us. But
he can. Like, that's the thing.
He can definitely improve. He can definitely develop. I think so as well. I feel like a lot of us, we want Oladipo to start. I feel like his ceiling is perfect for what he offers already. So if he can add that catch and shoot, which he's already not that bad at, I feel like he'd be a really good complementary piece to the lineup that we have. But there's a lot more riding on this than just who fits best on the team, because Tyler Herro expects to start. He's made it known. He's made it, very clear. He expects to start this year, regardless of what Pat Riley said, that you need to be a two-way player. There might be more pressure on Spo to start Herro based on where the contract might be at. You don't want to really cut that tie anymore. He's already been put through every single offseason into trade packages every week. He's been a different trade package every single week. Last year was giving him away for scrap. We were looking at Cam Reddish. I saw one where we were talking about shipping him for bench pieces. Like, there's a lot that this guy's been through. So where do you draw the line if you're Tyler Herro, saying, do you want to keep going through this problem?
What did Pat say in the press conference?
He wants a two-way play. You have to be a two-way player to make it.
He told when Tyler Herro said he deserved to be a starter, come to camp and prove it. I can say I want to be the coach. I want to be the head coach of the Miami Heat. What does that mean? Am I fit to be that coach? Is Tyler Herro fit to be a starter for 82 games? We seen when he was a starter, and what was that, 2 years ago? And he haven't really shown us he can be the third best player on the championship contender team night in and night out. So, yeah. I mean, he can say whatever he wants.
I feel like
you can't improve it.
It's a big thing as well. The fact that we had to bench him to get the most out of him. Now that's a confidence issue. That's a massive confidence issue. When the lights shine bright, when the most is expected of him, he has not delivered. In the last two playoff runs, he's averaged 9 and 12 points back to back. Now, granted, one was only 5 games in 2021, but he did play terribly. And this year, with that injury, he just wasn't performing. But even when he wasn't injured, it didn't look like he was up to the task, especially in the playoffs. So, do you want to trust this team moving forward with him straight away? I feel it's better if we start him at the season off the bench again. And if he starts to prove that he can really take on that spot and become a more dependable and just more consistent defender overall, we can slide him into that 2 spot. But for me, Victor Oladipo and Max Strus.
Who's your ideal 2? Who do you
it's
think
Oladipo, for sure. Oladipo brings that defensive tenacity, and he can shoot as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like
in the 8 games, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but in the 8 games he did play, he did shoot 40%. He did shoot 40%. He shot 40% from 3 in the 8 games he did play this season. I mean, the playoffs he didn't shoot that good, but
yeah,
that's the thing. Playoffs from 3.
Yeah. But we look at Herro's numbers, regular season to playoffs. It's a drastic drop off. He was one of the best scorers he was the best scorer off the bench, to then coming into the playoffs not being effective at all. So this is a big year for him. This is the biggest year of his career, obviously. The more you approach your prime, he's only 21, turning 22, but the light shines brighter every single year. So is he going to finally take that step and become more consistent, or is he just going to fold again? And it gets more scary every year.
What he said, but he has to keep that same energy.
Yeah,
you can talk all you want in the off season. You know, anybody in an empty gym in the summertime looks good, but let's see it in the playoffs. You got to keep that same energy that you talking about fans keeping. You got to keep that same energy that you have in the regular season on the court and show it in the playoffs on the court. Yeah. So Tyler had to keep that same energy, because
I was not a big fan about what I saw on Twitter afterwards. I know that I didn't like it. I lost it. I was pretty unhappy when I was like reading it. I'm sitting there going, the reason why we want you to go on and we feel like we can get more out of somebody else on this roster is because you're not putting your all and you're not performing when you need to perform. And
he wasn't even the 4th best player on the roster in the playoffs.
He wasn't. I would argue he wasn't top 5 either.
Yeah, you can argue that. And this guy's about to see what, 100 and whatever million. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. And fans, fans are upset, and they have the right to be. Tyler has to step up.
Well, we're not gonna keep bashing Tyler Herro as much as we can. No. So we're not gonna keep. There's a lot that's expected of him. There's a lot that we want from him as a player. Hopefully, he can deliver. We want him to prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. Same with Duncan Robinson. Prove us wrong, buddy. If we're, you might be too far gone already, but prove us wrong. These players need to do their best instead of saying keep that same energy. Improve. Mm-hmm. And so we have no reason to that slander, but it is what it is. If I'm looking at this team as it stands right now, moving into training camp, assuming that we make no moves at all, no Jay Crowders, no John Collins, no Turner, nothing like that.
This is going to be the roster going into training camp.
What is your ideal starting 5?
I'm going to go with Kyle, obviously, at the 1, Vic at the 2, Jimmy at the 3. I hate to say it, but we all assuming Caleb's going to start at the 4. And of course, Bam is going to start at the 5. But I will say this. I do believe that Yurts is going to get more playing minutes than he did last season. I think with this year, he's a full really off season with the coaching staff. And we kind of seen the way they kind of got an idea on how he can play. So I think they're going to.
Yurt comes with a lot of different issues as well. Yurt has his own issues to work through as well. I feel like him breaking Shaq's record on this team for the most rebounds every single game. I feel like it doesn't tell the whole story. He was playing when he was forced to start. He wasn't that great. He wasn't that great defensively.
No,
And
he was
if
horrible on the defensive end.
he was horrible, you can't
Like,
start him. I would never
he-
start. I would
no,
never
no,
look at a team where Yurt plays the 5
no,
unless
no,
there's drastic improvement from him.
no. Yeah, but I think he's going to get better. But no, you can't start him in. And then when you did look at things where him and Bam were on the court together, it was a lot of standing still.
Yeah,
it was a lot of them two standing still, and that's horrible. That's horrible. That means whoever's
you've
handling
got
the
two
ball.
big men that can bear. You got Bam who doesn't shoot at all. You've got Yurt who was supposed to be able to shoot, doesn't shoot.
He wasn't really.
It wasn't that great. He can catch lobs. We can have mad. But let's just have Tyler Herro throwing lobs to Bam and Yurt all day. Let's lose by 37 points a game.
I think he'll get more minutes than Dedmon this year.
Dedmon's 32 going to 33. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they play him.
He's looking like he's 62.
He played post All-Star break. Dedmon was the most depressing I've ever seen that guy play. I remember him back when he was 27, 28. I'm like, that's a solid backup big man. That's a solid backup big man. So like now he's 33, nearly 33. He's nothing like we expected him to be. So if I'm looking at the roster, Lowry 1, Oladipo 2, Jimmy 3, Caleb, Bam would be ideal, because at the end of the day, if we've got no power forward moving in, it's him or Haywood Highsmith.
Oh,
now,
hell no.
If Bam was a more accomplished scorer, we could have looked to slide Bam to the 4 and look at a different 5 as well. Maybe start Dedmon, maybe start something like that. I'm not saying we should, but I'm getting the point I'm getting to is that if we can get more consistent offense from Bam, it would be a massive help to the team all the way around.
I'm pushing my Bam agenda. I think this is going to be the best season that we've seen from Bam. I think Bam heard the noise, he see the noise, and I think he was really frustrated at that Game 7 loss against Boston.
Him ripping off that jersey was insane.
Yeah, that was insane.
But you know what? I don't want him to take it as there's two different types of being upset. There's upset and then getting into the gym and getting better, using that to fuel you. Then there's also getting upset is what Duncan Robinson did, where he was throwing things on the bench, doesn't even improve. Next game, shoots 0 from 6 to start off the game.
I'm glad you brought up Duncan, because do you think, what is Duncan Rowe going to be on his team? Do you think
they're not going to abandon him? They're not going. Spo will never abandon a player like that. Spo will not. Spo will continue to try to integrate him into the perfect player that he can be. It's the best most optimal version of Duncan.
I don't know, because I think Gabe showed that he has to get minutes. Gabe was probably the third.
Gabe was amazing.
Best player on the team in the whole playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He stepped up. Gabe stepped up big.
Yeah,
I think Gabe deserved minutes, and he might be taking Duncan minutes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. Even the bench is pretty interesting moving into it as well. If you don't start Tyler Herro, he's back on the bench. He's back on the bench with Gabe. Caleb might be starting. With Strus on the bench as well. Dedmon, Yurt, these players need minutes. Gabe, like you said, was really impressive. I would like to see him in an expanded role as well. So we'll see what happens with the bench minutes as well. But for me personally, I believe what's best moving forward is starting Oladipo and Caleb at the 4. And come All-Star break, if Tyler Herro is still playing really well, you integrate him into the starting lineup. Just say Oladipo's not working out, you can start to integrate Tyler Herro.
I'm tired of seeing these 3 guards lineups.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah,
it's working it's just not working. Like 3 guard lineups is not it. Like, and then Spo throws them out so much, and it's like, bro, you don't have to do it you don't have to always do it.
Yeah.
It's just not. I'm tired of seeing it.
Yeah. Moving along for that quickly as well. You mentioned Yurt getting more minutes in the big man rotations looking like it's Bam, Dedmon, and Yurt again. If Bam starts to take those threes, starts to take those jumpers as well, in your opinion, how much will that help this team?
It's going to help it tremendously. Like it's going to help. It's going to help space the floor out. And so it's going to give Jimmy a more of a lane to attack. It's going to take Kyle to expand the offensive game more. So now it's not going to be no Bam is standing in the corner just sitting. Now you got to actually watch him in the corner because he can take that shot. It was times where Bam had the ball wide open with no one, no hand up, no nothing. He's sitting with the ball in his hand, afraid to shoot. Now it is you got to play him up. And Bam he's quicker than most centers guarding him in the NBA. Bam is really athletic. So now it's like you got to play the drive, you got to play the shot. Like it expands the offense. So now it's like, all right, I'm worrying about Bam, so I'm taking my eyes off Tyler. I'm taking my eyes off Jimmy, and it just creates so much more opportunity. It creates more backdoor cuts. It creates so much more opportunities. That's why I think Bam extending his offensive game, it helps the team out tremendously.
The reason why I ask about Bam as well, the reason why I brought him up in the first place was because I feel absolutely that this is Bam's last real chance to prove that he can expand that game. Because at 25, 26, if you haven't started shooting, if you haven't started, playing as a max player, we've got to start to question, is he the right fit? Is he the problem in the front court?
He's absolutely the right fit.
Yeah.
It's just Bam deserved the max contract Bam's getting, he deserved it. Because he's doing so much more. And he's asked to do a lot that he's actually do for other players. He's asked to get Duncan open. He's asked to get Herro open. He's asked to do a lot for these other guys who's supposed to be able to create their own shot who just can't.
Yeah.
So I mean, once you take that off a Bam plate, he'll become a more of a scorer. Like now it's like I don't have to worry about doing 100 DHOs. I don't have to worry about getting Duncan, setting a million screens to get Duncan open. He can focus on his game. So I think that's why I don't want to see Duncan as a starter. I want to see Vic as a starter because Vic is an underrated playmaker. He has a bag. He don't have an elite bag like Kyrie. I'm not saying, but he can attack the basket. He can play make. Vic needs to be a starter.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be Tyler. It needs to be Vic.
I feel like if we get any form of Indiana Vic where he was, all defensive team, that 20, 22, 23 points per game scorer, if we get even a shade of that, it's going to help this team tremendously moving forward. And his game and even Kyle Lowry coming back to any sort of consistency will also help Bam out as well. Because players who can get their own shot will allow Bam to operate more freely. I agree with you saying him trying to get Duncan screens and screening for Tyler Herro as well. Trying to get this, in my opinion, hinders what he can do. It puts him in a box saying, this is what you need to do. And that's all we need from you. That's all he feel like. Okay, well, I'm sending screens. I'm getting everyone open. I'm defending at an elite level. I feel like if the pressure was on to him to score more, by actually surrounding him with the right sort of players, that's how it's gonna allow him to expand his game the most.
Do you think that's more of Bam, or that's just more of coaching, or is it just?
It's a mixture of both. But Bam's been coached into this mentality. Screen and roll, pick and
Is it the lack of offensive skill? I'm not well. You can say the lack of
creativity, lack of offensive creativity. Massively.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think it is as well. I agree. I feel like it's the lack of players getting their own shot and having to rely on Bam setting these screens, which not only makes us extremely predictable as a team, but doesn't allow Bam to really go, I can actually start to enforce myself as an offensive player on this team. If he's not just having to screen every 5 seconds, he can go position himself better to get into more spots. But if he gets that mid-range jumper flowing, which we saw in the past he was already doing, just to let it fly, let it go. Because at this point, what do you got to lose? 25, 26, you're already one of the best, if not the best defender in the NBA. Now, if you can add that solid jumper and start to take threes and
he'll be
deep twos, he'll be all NBA.
I predicted.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to be an All NBA player this season.
I want to see what he did with Jimmy in the final game of last year. Most nights. I don't want to see one blow up and the other one have a mediocre game. They both came and performed in Game 7.
Yeah.
I want to see that more often.
I think we're going to see it.
Yeah.
And I think this season is going to be a roller coaster season. It's going to be a fun season. I don't think it's going to be as fun as last year, but there's a lot of question marks in this season. And one of them we discussed was who's going to start at the 2? Who's the best fit for this team to start at the 2? And it's going to be a good season. I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, that's it. We've talked about a fair bit. We've got still all those questions moving into camp. Who's going to start at the 2, the 4? Is Bam going to look more aggressive? What's the type? If we're going to change up, a bit of, is Spo's going to change it up to suit this roster more? So, that's something you're going to keep watching throughout the season to keep updated with the Biscayne Breakdown. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.